this is Najma Shams. Today, I want to share with you my findings from the Passionate Programmer book. I hope you will watch this video till the end and it will be useful for you. It is written by Chad Fowler. To better understand this book, let's answer these questions. What is this book about? It is about creating a remarkable career in software development, how to respect and love your profession, and being awesome. Why should we read this book? If you are passionate about software craftsmanship, if you want to be a great software developer, if you want to love your work, or if you want to raise the bar and turn software development into a profession instead of a job, then read this book. How opinions about this book have been expressed. This book is full of plans, things I can do. It's clear that I'm not alone. It explains what I can do today and tomorrow. I was on the verge of changing careers. I decided not only to stick with software development, but to be passionate about it. This book served as a roadmap for achieving those goals. What is the content of this book? The Passionate Programmer has 5 parts: acknowledgement and introduction. Each part consists of tips. Totally, there are 53 tips in this book to become passionate about programming. Let's talk about the foreword, acknowledgements, and introduction of this book. Everyone has remarkable in them, but that it takes finding something they truly care about to draw it out. If you don't love your environment, your tools, and your domain, you can't be remarkable. To be remarkable, you have to believe that you are making a significant dent in the universe. When you were not making a dent at work, it spilled over to your personal life too. When you didn't feel like you were having an impact during office hours, it was that much harder to master the effort to have an impact afterward. With Remarkable Life, you don't just become a better and more valuable worker, but you become a better human too. This book is about finding fulfillment and happiness in your career. Fulfillment and happiness don't come by chance. They require thought, intention, action, and a willingness to change course when you have made a mistake. This book creates a radical, successful career in software development. People spend far more of their waking adulthood working than doing anything else. According to a 2006 survey by US, average Americans spend half of their waking time at work. The facts show that our lives basically are our work. Then, loving your work is one of the most important keys to loving your life. Ultimately, we're all looking for happiness. Most of our goals are geared toward finding happiness, with the focused goal of happiness as a primary motivator. We can make better decisions about the smaller steps we take to achieve that goals. The goal of this book is to give you a systematic way of building a remarkable career in software development. We will walk through specific examples and present a set of actions that you can take right now that will have both short-term and long-term positive effects. Stay focused on winning, and the fear of losing will be forever a memory. What is the first part of this book about? It is about choosing your market. As a software developer, it's pretty obvious that programming by coincidence is a bad thing. Yet so many of us allow important career choices to be, in effect, coincidences. Which technologies should we invest in? Which knowledge, which domain should we develop expertise in? You could invest your money in a small startup company. For example, put up several $1,000s in exchange for a small portion of ownership in the company. If the company's idea is good and it's able to execute effectively on that idea, you could potentially make a lot of money. You have no guarantee that you will ever recoup your original investment. This concept is nothing new. You make the risk-reward trade-off. The risk-reward trade-off is an important part of making intentional choices about which technologies and domains to invest in. How to act on it. Make a list of early, middle, and late adoption technologies based on today's market. Map them out on paper from left to right. The left is bleeding edge, and the right is filled by technologies that are in their sunset. Push yourself to find as many technologies in each part of the spectrum as possible. When you have as many technologies mapped out as you can think of, mark the ones that you consider yourself strong in. then perhaps in a different color mark the one that you have some experience with but aren't authoritative on. We should consider supply and demand. When most of us think of supply and demand, we think that it has to do largely with what price something can and will be sold at. To predicting the prices of goods and services, the supply and demand model can predict how price changes will affect the number of people willing to sell and purchase a product or service. Why is this important to us? Though we are worried about losing jobs domestically, the lower cost per programmer has actually increased overall demand. At the same time, as demand increases, price decreases. Competition in high demand products and services hangs on price. In the employment market, that means salary. You can compete on price, you can't afford it. Based on this observation, you might choose to compete in segments of the job market in which there is actually lower demand. If you're worried about losing employment to offshoring, one strategy would be to avoid the type of work that offshore companies are doing. Offshore companies are doing work that is in high demand. You can't compete on price, but you can compete on ability. The most important lesson we can learn from the supply and demand model is that with increased demand comes increased price competition. The tried and true follow the jobs strategy will put you squarely in price competition. Also, we should consider it's not enough to think about what technologies you're going to invest in. You're not going to be able to sit back and simply master a programming language or an operating system. Business people take care of the business stuff. If all you needed was a code robot, it would be easy to hire someone in another country to do that kind of work. If you want to stay relevant, you are going to have to dive into the domain of the business you are in. You should think of your business domain experiences as an important part of your repertoire. Just like technologies that becomes hot, business domains can be selected in the same way. In light of the importance that you should place on selecting a business domain when rounding out your portfolio, the company and industry you choose to work for becomes a significant investment on your part. If you have not yet given real, intentional thought to which business domain you should be invest in, now is the time. How to act on it? Schedule lunch with a business person. Talk to them about how they do their job. As you talk to them, ask yourself what you would have to change or learn if you aspired to have their job. Ask about the specifics of their daily work. Talk to them about how technology helps them. Think about your work from their perspective and do this regularly. Pick up a trade magazine for your company's industry. Start trying to work your way through a magazine. You may not understand everything you read, but be persistent. Make lists of questions you can ask your management or business clients. Even if your question seems stupid to you, to your business clients will appreciate that you're trying to learn. Be the worst guy in every band you are in. Legendary jazz guitarist Pat Metheny has a stock piece of advice for young musicians, which is always be the worst guy in every band you are in. Being the worst guy in the band means always playing with people who are better than you. Attempting to be the worst actually stops you from selling yourself short. You might belong in the A band, but always put yourself in the B band because you're afraid. Acknowledging outright that you are not the best wipes away the fear of being discovered for the not best person you are. How to act on it? Find a be the worst situation for yourself. You may not have the luxury of immediately switching teams or companies just because you want to work with better people. Instead, find a volunteer project on which you can work with other developers who will make you better via osmosis. If you don't have an active developer community nearby, use the internet. Pick an open source project that you admire. Go through the project's to-do list or mailing list archives. Pick a feature or a major bug fix and code away. Another tip is invest in your intelligence. When choosing what to focus on, it can be tempting to simply look at the technologies that yield the most jobs and focus on those. Using this logic, it would be foolish to choose to invest in a niche technology, especially if you had no plans to try to exploit that niche.
More important than portraying the perception of being suitably motivated and engaged by your field is that exposure to these French technologies and methodologies actually makes you deeper, better, smarter, and more creative. If that's not good enough reason, then you're probably in the wrong profession. How to act on it? Learn a new programming language. But don't go from Java to C Sharp or from C to C++. Learn a new language that makes you think in a new way. Work through enough code that you truly feel the difference in the new programming environment. If it doesn't feel strange enough, either you have picked the wrong language. Go out of your way to learn the idioms of the new language. Ask old timers to review your code and make suggestions that would make it more idiomatically correct. Don't listen to your parents. Your parents are going to give you fear driven advice. Fear driven advice is geared toward not losing. Thinking about not losing is not the way to win. Winners take risks. Fear driven career planning is more likely to land you in a cubicle farm for the rest of your life than on the path to greatness. Sure, it's safe, but it's not fun. Fun happens in the evenings and the weekends. But if your job isn't fun, as we have come to realize, you don't do a fantastic job at it. We should know passion leads to excellence. Take calculated risks with your career. Don't let fear consume you. And if you're not having fun, you're not going to be excellent. How to act on it? What are your biggest career fears? Think about the last few career choices you made. They don't have to be big decisions. They could be whether you took on a special assignments or whether you applied for a job change or promotion. Make a list of these choices and for each one force yourself to make an honest assessment. Be a generalist. It's not about where you sit on the perceived value chain of project work. It's about how generally useful you make yourself. If you just want to stand out and be remarkable, wrapping your head around the big picture is where it is at. Generalists are rare and therefore precious. The way to become a generalist is to not label yourself with a specific role or technology. We can become typecast in our careers in many ways. To visualize what it means to be a generalist, it can help to dissect the IT career landscape into its various independent aspects. Ranks on the career ladder, platform, code versus data, system versus applications, business versus IT. These are different dimensions on which you could approach the problem of becoming a generalist. On a piece of paper or a whiteboard, list the dimensions on which you may or may not be generalizing your knowledge and abilities. Write your specialty. For example, if platform and operating system is one of your dimensions, you might write Windows and .NET next to it. Now, to the right of your specialty, write one or more topics you should put into your to learn list. Be a specialist is another tip. Too many of us seem to believe that specializing in something simply means not knowing about other things. Finding an opportunity at work or outside to teach a class on some aspect of the technology that you would like to develop some depth in. Teaching is one of the best ways to learn. Love it or leave it. Work because you couldn't not work. You have to be passionate about your work if you want to be great at your work. If you don't care, it will show. Lack of passion will catch up with you and your work. How to act on it? Go find a job you're actually passionate about. Starting next Monday, keep 2 weeks of a simple log. Every workday, when you wake up, rate your level of excitement on a scale from 1 to 10. 1 means you would rather calm down with an actual sickness than go to work, and 10 means you could hardly stay in bed because you were consumed by the idea of getting the next thing done. What is the second part of this book about? It's about investing in your product. A product that stands out and that lets you really compete, you're going to have to invest in that product. In business, ideas and even talent are a dime a dozen. It's the blood, sweat, tears, and money you put into a product that make it really worth something. There are 7 investment strategies for your career. Learn to fish. It means don't wait to be told. Ask. Just what is a fish in the software industry? It's the process of using a tool or some facet of a technology or a specific piece of information from a business domain you're working in. It's how to check out a specific branch from your team's source control system. Or it's getting an application server app running for development. How to act on it. How and why. Either as you sit here reading or the next time you're at work, think about the facets of your job that you may not fully understand. You can ask yourself 2 extremely useful questions about any given area to drill down into the murky layers. How does it work? And why does this happen? 2. Tip time. Pick one of the most critical but neglected tools in your toolbox to focus on. Perhaps it's your version control system, perhaps a library that you use extensively, or maybe the editor you use when programming. When you have picked the tool, allot yourself a small project of time each day to learn new thing about the tool that will make you more productive or put you in better control over your development environment. Learn how business really work. Find a mentor. Be a mentor. Practice, practice, practice. These are the investment strategies for your career. You can't creatively help a business until you know how it works. It's okay to depend on someone. Just make sure it's the right person. A great mentor gives you structure to your learning process. The first and most important purpose that a mentor serves is that of a role model. A role model sets the standard for what good means. If you thought of yourself as a chess player, for example, just being able to beat the people in your immediate family might feel pretty good. But if you played with a tournament player, you would find that chess is a much deeper game than you ever knew. Without a role model, there is no incentive to get better. Martin Fowler is a well-known software developer and author. Whenever he wants to really learn about something, he writes about it. To find out whether you really know something, try teaching it to someone else. Practice, practice, practice. We need to make time for practice. Practice at your limits. Practice down into the following categories: physical or coordination, sight reading, improvisation. If you want to feel you own a process, help implement it. The best way to feel ownership of processes is to help implement them. If your organization has no process, research methodologies that might work for you. So, if you can't do the process, you can do the product. What does design pattern focus on? Design pattern focused on the discovery and documentation of reusable solutions to common software development problems. Design patterns have formalized the study of existing code, making the practice accessible to a great number of software professionals. Automate yourself into a job. If the goal is to enhance software development throughput, you can get faster people to do the work, get more people to do the work, or automate the work. Let's talk about the third part of this book. What is it about? It's about executing. To be successful, we are being paid to create value. This means getting up out of our reading chairs and getting things done. Getting things done feels good. It's often hard for people to get into a reading, but once you have felt a fire under you, you will not want to stop. What can we do right now? Parkinson's law states: if you treat your projects like a race, you will get to the end a lot faster than if you treat them like a prison cell. Create movement, be the one who pushes. Don't get comfortable. And always be the one to ask, but what can we do right now? How to act on it. Find one that you could just do in between the cracks of your normal work. When you would normally be browsing the web, checking your email, or taking a long lunch, turn a multi-month project into a less than 1 week task. You should be mind reader. The mind reading trick, if done well, leads to people depending on you. If you always do what your customers ask for when they ask for them, you will satisfy your customers. If you do more than what they ask for, or you have already done things before they ask, you will delight them. That is, unless your ability to read minds is defective. The mind reading tricks isn't entirely safe. The major risks are as follows. You spend the company's money doing work that nobody asked you to do. Anytime you add code to a system, you stand the very strong chance of making it less resilient to change. Avoid mind reading work that may force the system down a particular architectural path or limit what the system can do in some way. You might take it upon yourself to change a feature your customer did ask for in a way that unexpectedly to you make it less functional or desirable to the customer. It's great to have accomplishment to report every day. Simply setting a goal and tracking this type of accomplishment can radically change your behavior. When you start to search for outstanding accomplishments, you naturally go through the process of evaluating and prioritizing your activities based on the business value of what you might work on. Tracking hits at a reasonably high frequency will ensure that you don't get stuck. How to act on it. Give yourself a solid 20 minutes of this. Write down all of your ideas, good or bad. Don't allow yourself to quit until the 20 minutes are up. After you have made your list on a new sheet of paper, write out your 5 favorite items. Next week, on Monday, take the first item from the list and do something about it. On Tuesday, take the second item, Wednesday, the third, and so on. Remember who you work for. It's really easy to say. Make sure your goals and your work align with the goals of your business. It's really easy to say. It's really hard to do, especially when you are a programmer, buried under so many organizational layers that you hardly know what your business is. So, it's all fine and dandy to say we need to align our work with the goals of the company. What is the role of a good manager? The role of a good manager is to set prioritize for the team. Make sure the team has what it needs to get the job done and do what it takes to keep the team motivated and productive. A job well done by the team is a job well done by the manager. So, your manager's successes are your successes. Remember what you work for. It will not only align yourself with the needs of the business, but you will align the business with your needs. Be where you are at. Focusing on the present allows you to enjoy the small victories of daily work life, the feeling of a job well done, the feeling of being pulled in as an expert on a critical business problem, the feeling of being an integral member of a team that gels. These are what you will miss if you're always walking around with your head in the clouds. How much more fun could you make your job? It's rewarding to do a good job and to be appreciated. When we have no interest in a task, we are bored and our work suffers as a result. What is the reason that the boring tasks are boring? The answer is that the boring tasks are not challenging. We love to do things to prove that we are able. The boring tasks are usually no-brainers. Doing them is about as challenging as taking out the trash. Every day you should ask yourself, how good a job can I do today? You will find that you will like your job better and your job will like you. So, how to act on it? Turn those boring tasks into a competition with your coworkers. So, who can do them better? Every day we should ask ourselves, was I worth it today. Beware of being blinded by your own success. More successful you are, the more likely you are to make a fatal mistake. When you have got everything going for you, you're less likely to question your own judgment. You become arrogant, and with arrogance, you develop blind spots. The less replaceable you think you are, the more replaceable you are. Learn to love maintenance. Maintenance can be a place of freedom and creativity. A hidden advantage of doing maintenance work is that, unlike the contractual environment of many of today's projects team, the maintenance programmer often has the opportunity to interact directly with his or her customers. This means that more people will know you who you are, and you will have the chance to build a larger base of advocates in your business. Learn how to fail. Learning to deal with mistakes is a skill that is both highly valuable and difficult to teach. We all, we all make mistakes. We also know that everyone else make mistakes. So within reason, we don't judge each other on the mistakes we make. We judge each other on how we deal with those inevitable mistakes. The following rules apply for a technical, communication, and project management mistakes. Number one, raise the issue as early as you know about it. Don't try to hide it for any length of time. Number two, take the blame. Number three, offer a solution. Number four, ask for help. Stressful times offer the best opportunities to build loyalty. Learn to say no. Saying yes is an addictive and destructive habit. Saying yes to avoid disappointment is just lying. Be courageous enough to be honest. We all know saying no feels bad. We are programmed to want to always succeed, and saying we can't do something feels like we failed. But we should learn how to say no. Status reports can help you market yourself. So, everything you say it, you should do it and show it. Creating and executing plans shows that you're not just a robot typing code, but you're a leader. If you say what you're going to do and then you do it and show that it's done, you develop a reputation for being a doer. The fourth part of this book is about marketing. It's stupid not to let people know what you are capable of doing. If someone does something truly fantastic and nobody knows about it, in his eyes, it didn't happen. You may have the best product in history, but if you don't do some kind of advertising, nobody is going to buy it. Marketing yourself is simple. You have only two goals: to let people know you exist and to let them know you are the person who can solve the tough problems that keep them up at night. It's comfortable to play the idealist and pretend you don't care what other people think about you. You can't let yourself believe it. You should care what other people think about you. Perception is reality. Get over it. Perceptions are driven by different factors depending on who the audience is. Put yourself into the mind of a manager or customer. Your customers are afraid of you. They are afraid of you, and for good reason. You're smart. You speak a cryptic language they don't understand. You make them feel stupid with your sometimes sarcastic comments. Communication, especially by means of writing, is the bottleneck through which all your wonderful ideas must pass. You are what you can explain. How to act on it. Number one, start keeping a development diary. Write a little in each day, explaining what you have been working on, justifying your design decisions, and weighing tough technical or professional decisions. Number two, learn to type. Being present is another factor in marketing. We people like to interact with other people in person, and try to actually learn about the people you work with. Have a mission, make sure people know it. If you want to be a software developer in a high cost country, you need to come to work with a mission. You need to effect change, but not change within yourself or your own work. You need to effect visible change through your team, organization, or company. If you don't know what your crusade is, you probably don't have one. If you're not already actively trying to make your mark, you're probably not making it. Let your voice be heard. Set your sights higher. Don't think of yourself as a programmer at a specific company. After all, it's not likely that you will be at the same place forever, but as a participating member of an industry. You are a craftsperson or an artist. You have something to share. And companies want to hire experts. But how? If you don't already have a weblog, create one right now. Go to one of the many free weblog hosting sites and set one up. Build your brand, and your name is your brand. Brand building has two parts: actually making your mark so that people will recognize it, and then making sure that mark is associated with positive traits, recognition, and respect. Most important, remember that the things you choose to do and associate yourself with have a lasting impact on what your name means to people. A lot of our actions are public record and are cached, indexed, and searchable forever. You might forget, but Google doesn't. Guard your brand with all your might. Protect it from yourself is all you have got. When will you have a complete marketing plan? Traditional marketing curricula refer to the four P's of marketing: product, price, promotion, and placement. The idea is that if you cover all four of these categories, you will have a complete marketing plan. When an idea is remarkable, what will happen? Viral marketing happens when an idea is remarkable enough that consumers spread it from one person to the next. Why is important to make our product remarkable? The best way to get a consumer to remark on a product is to make your product remarkable. What is the meaning of remarkable? Remarkable means that something is worthy of attention. And to be remarkable, you have to be significantly different from those around you. Don't let yourself just be the best in the bunch. Be the person and do the things that people cannot not talk about. The fifth part of this book is about maintaining your age. If you were hired to be a programmer, don't think of yourself as a programmer. Think of yourself as maybe not a programmer anymore. Keep doing your job, but don't get too comfortable. Don't try to settle into the identity of a programmer or a designer or a tester. You are not your job. Back before you lost your job, you might have had plans, you might have imagined your progression through the company's rank. If you are a programmer, try a day or two of doing your job as if you were a tester or a project manager. Consider this: path with no destination. We are a nation of people who are always focused on the outcome of a process. If this is the core of your work life, the actual work, then you have already arrived at your destination. Focus on doing, not on being done. Focusing on the ending makes you forget to make the process good, and bad processes create bad products. Without a roadmap, you might even actually get lost. So it's a good to make yourself a map. Once you have created this historical map, keep it updated. It's a great way to reflect on your progress as you move toward your newly defined goals. Market is uncertain. So, before investment, you should watch the market. How can we measure our progress? An easy way to measure your progress is to use a trusted third party. A mentor or a close colleague doesn't live in your head with you and can help give you a more objective look at where you stand. What is value rigidity? Value rigidity is what happens when you believe in the value of something so strongly that you can no longer objectively question it. What is agile career planning and waterfall career planning, and which one is better. A group of experts in software development started to realize that among them there was a trend forming in the way software projects were both failing and succeeding. In an industry environment in which more software projects were failing than succeeding, they believed that they had discovered a way to do better. The group called themselves the Agile Alliance. But most of the time, people don't know every detail of what they want out of a big project. The larger and more complex a project is, the less likely it is possible to imagine every feature in detail, but enough to create a specification. This kind of process is a waterfall process. And that term is almost universally equated with bad process these days. The important thing to realize is that change is not only possible in your career but necessary. As a software developer, you will never want to prove yourself into developing something your client doesn't want. Agile methodologies help prevent you from doing so. Always be better than yesterday. The secret is to focus on making whatever it is you are trying to improve better today than it was yesterday. But how? Make a list of the difficult or complex improvements you would like to make. They can be personal or professional. It's okay. For each item in the list, think about what you could do today to make yourself or that item better than yesterday. But the final tip is go independent. If you go independent, there is no team to share the blame when you do things wrong. It's only you, your expertise, and your ability to execute. But it has challenges. Becoming an independent contractor also forces you to learn how to market yourself, and at the same time, you test your choices in domain and technology to focus on. You can't rely on customers to find you when you go independent in the way the work will find you at a big company. You have to go out and find the customers. And once you have found them, you have to convince them that you are worth paying. Thank you for listening and watching this video. I hope this video is useful for you.